Hello and welcome to a very belated, late episode of Podcast of the Rings. I mean, a few weeks at least. Alex just
Jess,
held up a
wizard
to
is
me.
never late.
Oh, God.
A podcast is never late, nor is it early.
I explain that to our audience when we keep on saying, hey guys, come back. We'll be back next week. Hey, sign up for our Patreon that isn't active. Anyway, we're back at it. And you know why? Because fan favorite, podcast guest official, Ben Goddard decided to make it happen. Welcome, dude.
Hey man, like I'm an avid listener as well. Like I'm a first time, what was it, like first time caller, long time listener. Like
I don't know if anyone does anything creative, the highest compliment is when someone that you genuinely like as a human likes what you do. So it definitely was a huge motivator to come back, and also you just saying you listen to it is the compliment. But
yeah.
You might as well just be here all the time because you'll make it happen for us.
I was gonna do, once Alex did his wizard line, I was gonna do the "Come on, you slags, don't you know we're at war?" like just every time.
You know what?
Like,
I'm gonna
orcs
cut
get
it to
screen
that.
Time. Okay, perfect. Like every time like any of the orc actors get screen time, they make it a 10 out of 10. They are just selling it, and I love it.
They eat up the screen. And they did do that in Rings of Power too. I think one of the things that Alex really loved, not to speak for you, but we enjoyed, I ended up enjoying it because you enjoyed it so much. They're very realistic, they're very scary, and they're very like individually realized characters. As opposed to all the Lord of the Rings. No, as opposed to
Hobbit.
the Hobbit shit that we watched.
Yeah.
Except for the one that Legolas fights.
Yeah,
No.
the one
Yeah.
like non-CGI orc.
Yeah, because he has to because his daddy has to cut his head off. That had to be
Yeah.
real, kind of. Anyway, there is a reason we're here specifically back today. There's still always something Lord of the Rings to talk about at any given time. But those of you in the quote-unquote industry, not of iron making, but of entertainment, you can't help but know that the writers' strike is happening. Listen, Iron Workers Unite have unions too.
They do.
Yeah,
Indeed, they do.
But also it does affect the layperson because their favorite TV shows got canceled early. Everyone's upset that they're not going to get the Kieran Culkin SNL.
Oh, was he supposed to come back? I thought he'd already been.
He did
That's what
host.
I thought too, but someone on like Vanity Fair or one of those magazines said, "This is what you're missing," and it's like Jennifer Coolidge and Kieran Culkin, and I was like, I thought he did it, but they might have wanted to round out the season with them again. I don't know.
It's possible. It's the last season of Succession, so.
But he just when did he host? Like last year? Or
I feel like maybe like 2021.
I see.
The last like 3 years, like are all a blur. So it could have been last year. I'm not like up on my SNL game, but I feel like it'd be like 2021.
he did a cameo on Steve Martin's this fall when they did Father of the Bride Part 12, and they got like Selena, they had Martin Short, and then like, hey, remember Kieran Culkin was the kid in this.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And he's like, hey, and then like literally Steve Martin goes, hey, you're doing well on Succession. So he's like, yeah, thanks.
That's awesome.
So what little did I realize is that the writer's strike also is affecting Rings of Power. Now, when Ben forwarded me the article about it, my first read on the subject line was like, oh, they're kicking the showrunners off because they don't want them to infect the second season like they did the first season, or at least that was going to confirm the trolls. That's what I thought it was about. And then it just turns out, what are they doing, Ben? What's the deal? Give us the blurb.
They are running without a showrunner and writers. Now, for like these big productions that seem to be like, every single piece of prestige TV that's going on right now, like, these movie level productions now, unless you're, like The Big Bang Theory or something. And this show famously cost, what, $1 billion to make? And people were complaining about that. And now that the writer's strike is happening, Rings of Power is pushing forward, but they will not have a showrunner on set or writers on set, because for these big productions, there will be rewrites like on the day of. They'll shoot something. Oh, this doesn't work. That sounded a little weird. Okay, let's punch this up. Let's do something different. Let's try this. And that will not happen because writers are on strike right now. But the Rings of Power is pushing forward anyways. So, guys, for a show that, and I know we all like it, but mixed is probably the best term for the reception this show
That's
got.
the nicest term.
Even outside of trolling, like people that just like didn't like it because people of color were in it. Like
but besides
discounting it.
Yeah, and then that those people don't count towards like actual criticism. But even outside that, it's like mixed at best. We're like, yeah, there's some really good stuff in there, but man, it dragged, or the pacing was off, or like what are they building to? So how do we feel about them not having them pushing forward with this? Because we've seen this happen. Heroes season 2,
Did
I
they
believe.
do that during the writer's strike last time?
Yeah, Heroes is the big example.
Heroes was a show that when I was, I was in middle school or high school when that came out, but
You're such a baby.
I know, it's aging me. I would set my VHS, because we didn't have DVR. I would set my VHS timer to record that on, I think it was ABC or NBC.
You guys didn't
NBC.
have TiVo? What the
No, we just had a VCR.
Was TiVo around in 2007?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I had friends who had DVRs.
Okay.
But anyway,
I remember when I got that. It was a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
DVR was a game changer.
Totally. But that I didn't have it. I would set my VCR recorder and watch it, and
commitment.
I was gutted when that show just started going off the rails because of the strike. So
wait, could you actually tell? So I didn't watch the show, and the only thing I know about it was that Hayden Panettiere was on it.
Save the cheerleader. Save the world.
Is that why you liked it?
No, I just thought it was cool because it was a different take on superheroes.
And B, could you actually tell that it had gone off the rails?
Yeah, even at that age, and I was aware of the writer's strike. It wasn't I was why is the show sucking all of a sudden?
Yeah,
I could tell. I was ooh, this is bad. Especially what they did with Silas, the villain, and
that was the thing.
Zachary
Is that
Quinto.
just and I even watched it. I watched it. That was one of the first Netflix watches I got in 2011 when I moved to LA, and I was oh, let me get Netflix, and I watched I watched Battlestar Galactica, because I remember watching that a lot on the Sci-Fi Channel, but just bits and pieces. I was I need to watch this, and then I was oh yeah, I remember Heroes, and everyone really liked it. And so the first season, I'm telling you, Jess, go watch the first season of Heroes. It is so good.
It's amazing.
Everyone at the height of their powers, the villain building throughout this season, because you keep hearing about Silas, you keep seeing people frozen and with their heads blown off, and all these crazy things are happening. And then they finally team up to fight him, and one person gets sent into feudal Japan, another person gets their memory wiped, and then the season ends. And it's the craziest thing. You're what is gonna happen with this? It seems they won, but did they really win? At what cost? And then I didn't have to wait the full year. I was very lucky, but I couldn't imagine. It was an amazing finale. So I just turned to the next episode, and I was what? What's happening here?
No.
And I didn't know it took place during the writer's strike or anything like that. So I was what happened to this show? I finished, but it was a bit of a slog towards the end. And even after the writers came back, it was probably tough to pick up the pieces of it. But yeah, just the potential of that show. And, Quantum of Solace, the second, Daniel Craig James Bond movie, also suffered from the writer's strike. And, you can kind of tell when the big villain is stealing water and is just that's it. That's the point. And even I remember in, not Spectre, Wait, so it goes Quantum of Solace, Skyfall. It is Spectre, the Christoph Waltz one, where like everything comes together. They like completely don't mention Quantum of Solace. They like show Mads Mikkelsen, they show Javier Bardem. Like, yeah, they were part of Spectre as well. Yeah, no, not that, not you.
I don't even remember that name. That's how much.
Yeah, exactly.
Forgotten about. That's so strange.
It is. Granted, the article says that Rings of Power only has 19 days left of filming, but 19 days is a lot.
Isn't nothing.
Full movies are shot in 19 days easily. So it's like, 19 days might not sound like a lot, and I'm not, it's not. It's like 2.5 weeks. It's not that much, but you can get a lot done in 19 days, especially where, they're filming a lot on the volume. They're not like filming on location or something like that. There might be a few location scenes, but we watched season 1. A lot of it's got green screen.
I would imagine, and this is just me briefly reading through this Variety article that is talking about this. This strike was not a surprise. I think this was something that was had been forecasted and long time coming. So it does say that they took Payne and McKay, the showrunners, like took steps to kind of put plans and contingencies in place for if they would have to leave the set.
So why would they do that though? What's the benefit if there's going to be a writer's strike to help make their jobs obsolete for the final stages of the product?
Because it's still their show and they care about it and they want it to be made well. I mean, at the end of the day, even if they're not present for the remainder of the shooting, their names are still going to be on the show.
Yeah.
And after this strike concludes, however it concludes, they're still going to have jobs on the show, presuming the show continues, which I think it will, considering how much money has been invested at this point. So it's not like they want to say, we're with the writers who are striking. We're going to say, screw you, Amazon. Like, no, they want the show to do well, regardless of whether or not they are able to work or not. So I think it makes sense that they would put, we don't know exactly what they did. I would assume it's leaving extensive notes for the crew, and
it's got to be 1,000 meetings that happened before they left.
Yeah, what are we going to do if we can't have writers? And let's try and get ahead of this, would be my guess. How
likely is it that they get through this 19 days of shooting and then have to come back and do reshoots if and when the WGA strike is over? Is that something that's commonplace?
Well, how long do you guys think the strike is going to go on for? Is the question.
Who can guess? I mean, it's Netflix that isn't budging, right? Do you know the details better than I do?
I do not. I do not know who's not budging, but I do know that HBO CEO Wonderboy David Zaslav said that, like, it's people will come back because they just love working. Meanwhile, I'm taking a $35 million salary last year. Like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't have I'm not an expert on it, but it's just
killing jobs because they canceled a bunch of shows.
Yeah, literally.
People love working, so we're gonna have less jobs.
Oh God, that's such a good point. Ew, that's like gross that you can make that much money just walking out of the building, and you've canceled all these shows that people like R.I.P.
An entire movie that was done.
Right. I mean, look at all those tax write-offs. You get to go home, eating lollies all day.
It's so it's so funny that he's the one that says that. It'd be one thing if, like, granted, they're all, multimillionaires, like CEOs of like evil corporations at the end of the day, but like at least Bob Iger is like, oh, he's Dad Bob Iger. Like, oh, he's coming. He they got rid of Bob Chapek, and Bob Iger's gonna save the day for all of us. Meanwhile, like, David Zaslav is like gutting HBO, or sorry, Max. Oh God, what ad shout, dumbest name ever, but shout out to the ad company that got paid millions of dollars to just be like, take the drop the HBO.
Yeah.
Just Max.
Not even that.
The thing people know you for, drop it from your name, please.
Yeah. It's not even that. They walk into the room. They just, everyone's waiting at the very long table. The guy walks in. It's just like a board, and he takes the friggin' sheet off, and it just says Max, and everyone goes, sold.
Well, like, what is the old James Cameron Aliens thing? Do you guys know that story?
Yeah.
Where he literally, like, his pitch for the sequel, there's a whiteboard, walks up to it, writes Alien, puts an S at the end of it, puts a $sign.
Wow. Wow. At this point, he had already done The Abyss, right? So, like, he already...
No, Abyss was after.
Got it. Because I was
yeah.
trying to think what kind of, like, high he was riding off of.
Terminator.
Terminator, totally.
Yeah.
Which, he already said, I did a sequel. Good luck. Trying to find someone else.
Yeah.
Aliens $sign is incredible. Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, so it's just of all people, it just had to be him, like, who's just like destroying it. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon. And with the show that's already, I know Amazon has all the money in the world, but I don't know if they have the kind of money or patience to, like, yeah, I know they're committed to 5 seasons, but if this season tanks, like, even without, let's say the writer's strike is not going on, everybody gets paid, livable wages, happy ending. But if this season doesn't do well, do you think we're going to get a 3rd season?
I think this is my sticking point in, it's my belief that they are going to do whatever is necessary to ensure that this season is better than season 1. I think they saw the reactions and they tried their best to spin it in, like, this is a show that everybody's loving. And I think it was generally well received, but like you...
And actually, I mean, for all intents and purposes, just to cut you off, and like one of the things I read, it didn't perform growth-wise after all of the episodes were released at all, which for a streaming series, it is one of the signs of, oh, this is actually good. There's a lot of things that point toward this show overall receptively being not taken well.
So yeah, based on those metrics, then I would say that they don't want to chance it. So I think, and this is they have the luxury to do this, I think, because of just it being Amazon and them having all the money, and them being their own, they distribute themselves on Prime. So they can put it out whenever they want to put it out. So if that means delaying production so that if they need to do, they're obviously continuing their shooting schedule, but if they need to come back and do reshoots, if they feel that's necessary, I think they will. So kind of sucks because we were going to have to wait, 2 years from season 1 to get our season 2. If that is longer, I think, look, if it means...
No one cares. I don't think anyone cares.
It's already so long. It's already 2 years we're waiting. So I think if they add another 6 months, whatever...
something to think about, too, is... I don't know if you guys saw... I'm sure you guys did. Saw the articles that the re-release of Return of the King happened a couple of weeks ago because it was the 20th anniversary or something like that. And it killed in the box office and ruined other movies that debuted that weekend.
Yeah, what did it outperform again? I can't remember.
Something inconsequential.
Yeah.
But my point is, are they looking at the long-term viability of this? Are they going, hey, let us just get the story out there, get to learn and love these actors. Yes, it's slow, but then in 10 years, you're going to watch all 5 seasons and be like, holy moly, this is the best thing. Because listen, this is something we were talking about when we reviewed the Hobbit movies. Those movies rake in $1 million a day just from existing because Max plays it 2 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the difference is Return of the King... for its 20-year anniversary, it gets a re-release in theaters. It's the highest grossing movie that weekend, compared to new releases. I don't remember the 10-year anniversary screenings of The Hobbit that did that.
But I'm saying those movies, though, are airing on cable all the time.
But I don't think they're
still better than any other film out there. I mean...
I don't think they're as universally hailed, and like people
thing,
don't go to see them like they do Lord of the Rings when they have
But
these
that's what I'm
releases.
saying is that, like, Top Gun Maverick might not like, I don't know, Top Gun Maverick's a bad example.
Yeah, because
it really
everyone
got
thought it
nominated for
was
Best Picture.
yeah.
But like the first Top Gun didn't get nominated for any Oscars or anything. You know, it's a cult classic, and it plays on TBS 2,000 times a weekend, and that's where they make their money. You know, White House, like all the Gerard Butler movies in the last 10 years, they might not kill at the box office, but they kill on DVD rentals. They kill on streaming services. Like, you know, Harry Potter, like HBO Max keeps having to take it off their streaming service because they keep renting it out to other streaming services because everybody still wants it.
Everyone wants it, yeah.
So it's like, you know, it might not, you know, we probably won't get a re-release of the Hobbit movies, but they don't need to.
Exactly. That's my point.
They are in their comfort zone of like, yeah, it's playing on HBO today. Yeah, I'll sit down and watch the Battle of the Five Armies for a little bit. Oh, I love, you know, like me. Oh, like the Smaug part is on. Hell yeah, I'm gonna watch, you know, the last like 30 minutes of this movie. Absolutely.
And they know that, and that's exactly my point, Ben. Is Amazon long-term planning? Does it have a 20-year plan, thinking that people are just gonna want to watch this for comfort food? I think that they'd be wrong. But you have to look at just the overall success of anything that has Lord of the Rings in front of it.
Yeah, I think that we'll see that with like what we talked about with the upcoming movies that are being planned with that rights deal, where we might have like a Gandalf movie or whatever. You know, we did all of those fan casting type things. I think that will be the realm of the comfort food. It's on, even if it's not good, because those are the familiar characters we know and love, and just like Bilbo Baggins and Gandalf are in the Hobbit films. Whereas with the Rings of Power, we don't really have. I guess we have Elrond and Galadriel, but they're not the ones we know.
The longer
in the same way,
the longer the time from when we first watched it to now, or you know, like to present day, the longer I'm away from that show, the more I actually am nostalgic for those versions of the characters. I actually genuinely love Arondir. I genuinely love her. What's that? Morphid
Clark.
Yeah, I love her Galadriel. The more I think about it, Halbrand is one of my favorite things on the planet. I don't know why. I'm sorry. But I do
like a bad boy.
You know what it is they cast really good unknown actors relatively. I didn't know this. My friend Mary Chifo went to Juilliard with Elrond.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Robert Aramayo.
Yes. And apparently he was always the Lord of the Rings dude and always showed up in a baseball cap and then did his scene.
That's why I love him.
I'm sure you do. Anyway, one of the questions I wanted to ask that, again, it would be ignorant to pretend like the bigots aren't a part of the conversation. But we agree that they're not part of like the overall valid critiques of the show. But does the showrunner stepping away from the showrunners from the show prove that they're not like is there some sort of like proving point to those complaints? Yes, Alex.
I think this is a sort of not Schrodinger's cat type thing, but
Murphy's Law.
No, the bigots will have it.
Crisis theory, critical theory.
Occam's razor.
Yeah, there you go.
The bigots will have it whatever way they like. If season 2 comes out and they love it, let's say, they'll be like, see, because the writers' strike and the showrunners were forced to leave and have less influence, that's why the show's better, because they suck and we don't like them. If they don't like the show, oh, they should have been gone the whole time and they had too much influence and the strike should have been soon. Like, they're going to spin it however way they want to fit their narrative. They're not people who actually think rationally and logically about things. They just want to push their ideology and will use the facts to support their ideology, whichever way it leans. So,
yeah, I haven't seen any of the vitriol online yet, but I think you're right. It'll be more post to see what will happen. I'm really curious to see if we can tell when the writers aren't on set. Because I can't imagine this show. I imagine that one of the things we learned when we talked to Antimo is that they had so much on the cutting room floor. So,
yeah.
And I have to imagine more than the editors, the showrunners should have a say in the logical order of the show. Would you not say? Is that true, Ben? Are you just show running on the day, or are you part of the package of it at the end of the day?
That's what I was listening to a podcast earlier today, is that like that's also a big problem, is that when shows were 22 episodes and you're like, get work for 22 episodes, like you'd be fine. And then you're in like a kind of an exclusivity contract, so you can't take any other work. But 22 episodes, that's a good chunk of work. But now with everything being like 8 to 10 episodes
or a special or whatever.
Yes, like a special, a limited series, something like that. And then you still have this exclusivity contract with it. And you don't know if you're coming back for season 2. Like, even if it's something performs really well, it's not guaranteed. Like Barry season 3 did the perfect thing of it, where I can't think of her name, but like Barry's girlfriend in the show, like, had a great show. It was really personal to her and was like #1 trending. But because like it didn't, like they were using all these like made up, streaming terms, like it didn't bubble well, like the bubbles didn't pop. It like got immediately axed. And she was like, wait, what happened? It was just on the front page. Like, the bubbles weren't popping in a melodic way, so it's gone. And so that's literally how it is. Like, if you don't have a Wednesday dance go viral, or if you don't have a billion Pedro Pascal edits on TikTok, then you might not get a season 2. Like, no matter how critically acclaimed your show is, or, people might talk about it. But if you don't go viral, or if you're not trending or something like that, it might not happen. And so that's like another thing they're working on with this strike, is that we either need longer seasons, or it's just like residuals where, like, that article came out where the guy who was like a head writer, or maybe a producer, I can't remember he was like he couldn't afford to rent a tux to go to the Emmys to receive his Emmy for The Bear. Like, and I know like renting a tux isn't like a life necessity, but like if you are an Emmy award-winning writer for a show that is making millions of dollars and going viral in every single way, and like immediately got a greenlit for season 2, and everyone's probably making their star out of it. Anyone that's on the show is like, I saw one of the guys like was in a season of Andor and stuff like that. So like people are growing their careers out of it. You should be able to rent a tux from Men's Warehouse for like $59.99 for one night,
or not just wear your funeral slacks.
Exactly.
Like, that's the whole point. Is you can't. I've talked about this about the industry, especially having gone to a couple swanky parties in the last year. This is an industry where you have to look like you're making the kind of money that you want to be making, because you can't show up to those parties wearing the dress you never wore, or like that isn't fresh, or you have to look your best, and you have to go to auditions looking like you're the rich housewife or whatever. Someone broke it down and I retweeted it. Like, sure, yes, $50,000 to write and work on a feature film is great, but 25% of that is going to lawyers, 25% of that's going to agencies, and then you're supposed to live on $25,000 for the year. No one could live on that. And granted, there is like some unemployment that can come along with that, depending on how you finagle it, but that's still not livable wages. That's just making sure you can have food on your table or pay rent.
Not only is it just like, okay, you're able to survive, but also that's assuming that you have that kind of job every single year.
Bingo.
Which is not the case in TV and film, because there just aren't that many jobs. And I think to what Ben is saying, like when you look at how much revenue is being generated by these shows, I think the person pretty like directly responsible for the show existing, the people actually writing the show, not to discount people who help, actually physically
No, but the
make
writers
it.
are the ones that are usually pitching it.
Yeah.
Unless they sell the idea. And then if they sell the idea, then they have to hire writers to
Yeah,
write it.
they're the creators of the thing. Without them, it doesn't exist, right? So they should probably be getting a more sizable percentage of that revenue.
So the buzz topic of everyone, even people like teachers and whatever, is AI gonna take that job? And a couple of my friends that were picketing, some of our mutual friends, been like, their picket signs were said something quirky about AI. Is that something that, I don't know, again, we're not experts on this topic, but is that something that like Max might be looking at and going, hey, we could just hire editors after we type in the plot to ChatGPT and then still get a decent script? Is that like something that's like weighing on everybody right now?
It's definitely a concern. It shouldn't be a real concern because
shouldn't be.
ChatGPT can maybe like write like, a high school essay on Napoleon or something like that, but it cannot
Well, they can
write a
short
script.
Yes, it can. It doesn't mean it will be good.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like it can write a script. Sure, I can write a script. Doesn't mean it'll be good.
But there's something to be said for like, hey, I need a script for a rom-com where two dudes meet in a park, but one is a cat, one has a dog. ChatGPT will throw that out. It's almost more efficient for you to let ChatGPT write the bare bones of it and then edit and punch it up. Like, there's a world where that makes sense.
Makes sense fiscally, sure, but like you're not going to create good content.
I'm not advocating for it, by the way.
No
like,
one thinks you are here.
To go on a brief side jag about AI, because I have opinions on this. Tangent.
No, I like it.
With ChatGPT in particular, it doesn't actually understand what it's writing, right? Like if you tell it like write a thing with a dog and a cat, like it doesn't know what it's doing. It's just using predictive models to go, this word will come after this word. So until there is technology that can actually like understand the context and all those things, it's not gonna be able to write good stuff. Like I think there were, people posting like scripts they asked it to write where it would say like interior jungle, forest, whatever. It's like it doesn't but it just knows like, oh, I have this sort of descriptor here and it kind of sometimes uses these words, so I'll put it there. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's just like really good at kind of approximating what it will look like. So I don't think it's a concern. I think the executives think it's more powerful than it is, and that's why we're hearing all this. And I think that for the layperson who maybe just knows peripherally about these kinds of things, they can easily be scared by that because they actually think that it's a reality that AI within the near future could replace creatives at their jobs, which is not a real concern.
It's already replacing like voiceover actors, like it is.
Yes. But that's a different technology.
Yeah, but AI still does. I don't know. It's
like
all
like computer generated
technology.
Voices are different than replace. Because that's like someone writes a script and then you feed it into this thing that can read it.
Right.
That's different than the scripting generated by an AI.
Right.
And being coherent and good.
Anyway, so what I think we're looking at, and with Rings of Power specifically, is an already contentious series that is questionable on a lot of different fronts as to it just being good or written well or good storytelling, is now really taking a chance by running without sales, essentially. I mean, I'm sure the script's written, but they don't have, I know the actor who plays Arondir was like, I want to say a prayer to the tree. And that was brilliant. And that was his call. Like, he really, truly understood his character. And actually, they really do. They have a boon in the fact that the majority of their actors are lovers of Tolkien as well. So, like, there's something to be said for that. But I don't know if they are even allowed to riff or do improv on set. They probably could do improv. But I guess the bottom line for this topic of conversation is I can't even foresee how this will help them, how this will be a good choice. But you know.
Especially like, especially in such a pivotal season for this show. Because it'd be one thing if, like The Last of Us season 2. Like, okay, there's the game out there, so we know the general story of what's going to happen. HBO definitely made some, changes, like the Bill and Frank stuff of episode 3, the love story. Huge change from the game, and people really liked it. I like what they do in the game, too, because, it really shows, like, how bitter the world is. But for the show, it was like, oh, no, like, what he says at the end, like, I found someone to protect. That is our job in this world, Joel, and you need to find someone to protect. And that's literally the whole point of the story. And it was great. So if HBO Max said, okay, we've already started filming season 2 of Last of Us, and we got 19 days left of shooting. We're gonna run with no writers and no showrunners. Everyone would be like, that's tough, but it is an insanely successful show. You have the groundwork right there, so we generally know what's gonna go on, and I trust this. But like we said, Rings of Power does not have that power, like, no pun intended. It doesn't have that power behind it. It doesn't have the hype. It doesn't have the star power. It doesn't have the incoming accolades that Last of Us is going to get. And it doesn't have the fan power behind it. And so, I don't know. This is huge for a show like this that, like, really needs a banger of a season 2. And, if what we want is like, oh, more action, like more, the war might start, Sauron was announced and he's going to Mordor now. So are there going to be huge cityscapes of actors, riding? Is it going to be like riding on horses, or cavalry is going to be charging? Like, who's going to be in charge of battle sequences? Who's going to be like, is it going to be more quiet conversations that don't lead anywhere? I don't know. It might be. But in those times, that's where I want a writer to punch something up too. Like,
exactly.
And we're going to suffer from the fact that the only person that was good at delivering those is no longer cast in the role. Adar is not there anymore.
He's
folks.
gone.
He's gone.
The one thing that, like, everyone was like, who is this guy? And, like, he brought this whole new level to basically a cannon fodder of a villain for 6 movies, where people are like, Legolas is upside down on a bat cutting 300 heads off in 10 seconds and no one bats an eye, and he gives them like this backstory and this like tragedy to them, like almost anime style, where I'm watching Demon Slayer and these demons are like, sucking the blood out of humans and saying the most atrocious things, but then when they die they're like, oh, I was never loved as a child, and so I became a demon. And you're like, why am I crying? You've been an a-hole for 20 episodes. Why do I care? And that's what Adar did for orcs, and he's gone.
Worse than being gone is he's recast, and now we're having this situation where we might just have really bland, terrible stuff because we don't have writers. It could be just the Siler of the show, where we had this villain that for all these other extraneous circumstances becomes the worst. Not just like, oh, that sucked, it didn't reach its full potential, becomes the worst thing about this show. And we all just hate Adar now. We loved him season 1, and now we're just like, oh, what they're doing with Adar, oh, it's just so bad.
Could be the new Luke Hemsworth in The Witcher.
Oh, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Wait, is he in this most recent season that's being released, or did Henry Cavill finish out this?
I think there's one more Henry Cavill.
That's what I thought too.
Maybe.
Which is
I don't
also
know. I know
so weird.
the Michelle Yeoh one is out, I believe, right now, which is like a spin-off type of Witcher thing. And then maybe, I'm not sure. I don't watch The Witcher,
it's the era of Michelle Yeoh. Let's just say it.
It really is. Like, I watched when I went and saw, what did I see this weekend? Guardians. She's a voice in Transformers, and then she's in the new. There's a new Hercule Poirot movie, a new Murder on the Orient Express movie coming out, which I'm very excited about.
Did you like the other one?
I did.
Oh,
I like them
really?
both.
I should watch it. It's Daisy Ridley's in the first one, right? And then
Yes.
the second one is
Death on the Nile.
Some people were just showing some of the green screen pictures of the pyramid, and
that's rough. It's
rough, right?
It's rough. It's rough looking for sure. When he's like flying a kite on the pyramid, I'm like, oh, can someone get murdered already, please?
Well, and I look forward to the last of the movies too to see how they pull it off. But like, I actually liked Murder on the Orient Express. I directly quote from it often.
It's
just
so
one,
good.
It's not bad, and then like it is good. I should say it's good. I enjoyed it. I just was super skeptical. But I'm also the person that has never seen Knives Out, but saw Glass Onion. So I can't be trusted. And anyway, here's the thing, folks. Alex and I are still trying to get our bearings as to what living together means. It's a positive thing, but there's so many things that is keeping us from being able to release episodes consistently. But there's a world where Ben and I just do an episode in the future, or Alex and you guys just shoot the crap. So I'd like to welcome everyone to be more open to erratic shows coming out, but happening, and then eventually we'll come back to consistency. We don't have a reason to come back to consistency until there's a show out again. So anyway, that's a lot of excuse fodder. What do you think, Alex? We haven't talked for 20 minutes.
It's not true.
I know.
No, yeah, I think it. Yeah, it's been 1
week since you looked at me.
It's
been
crazy month and change, and yeah, we'll hopefully soon get back to some sort of normalcy with the release of the show and finding stuff to put in the episodes. And yeah,
you could literally force our hand by making us get to 10 Patreon members, and then we'll have to watch the porno. What is it? The Sex of the Rings? What was it?
Lord of the G-Strings.
Lord of the G-Strings. We'll have to watch that. And one of our shout outs goes to Arsenal Roy 2K, who has been a Patreon long enough to get his merch. It's coming in right now. Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
I know. Good for him. God. Well, I should say Jesse Gillespie. Glaspie. All right. Anyway, Ben, thanks for making sure that we did this. That's a very perfect story for us to talk about. Anything you want to plug or just let people know what you're up to?
Everywhere at the Ben Goddard. Come on, check me out. Still doing movie reviews and stuff like that over on Patreon as well.
Your TikTok's hot.
Dude, it's been fun lately. I just have it's like we'll see like what happens with it, but yeah. I enjoy TikTok. It's fun doing dumb stuff over there.
No one likes what I'm doing on TikTok. Not a single person. And that's okay. I'm trying to find it. And honestly,
I just love scrolling and suddenly I just see Jess like 6 inches from the camera. Hey guys, it's Michael. It's like, what is happening?
It's cringe. It's so cringe. But I don't know if it's like the aware cringe enough. Anyway, someone literally commented saying this character is dog shit and put it to rest. And then when I played that character's mom, everyone thought I was a real mom. So I'm really killing it, you guys.
Loving it.
It's so
Never
sad.
stop. Never stop.
I don't think I can. I think I'm committing. Alex, where can people watch you do things if you do them?
If I do them over at twitch.television/Slokatu. SOLKATTO.
What happens if they spell out television? I don't think they'll get very far.
They'll have to find out.
Okay.
Twitch.tv/Slokatu.
Well, and although I'm not streaming consistently right now, you can make me play a TTRPG with you by going to coffee.com, Jessica Lynn Verdi. Somehow you get there. KOFI. That's how coffee is spelled. Anyway, we just did our second one and it was awesome. So now we're filling up seats for we're going to be doing them consistently. Anyway, Ben, thanks for being our friend.
Glad to be a friend.
And wait.
Well, what if the people want to find stuff about our show?
Well, I guess you should tell them.
Oh, I guess I should. Well, they can go to twitter.com/PodOfTheRings.
Mm-hmm.
You can interact with us there. And if you want to support the show and help make that goal of watching Lord of the G-Strings happen, you can head over to patreon.com/PodOfTheRings. You can email us, podcastofTheRings@gmail.com, or just go to podcastofTheRings.com and find all the things there.
There's so many things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Until next time, my friends.
May our roads meet again.
Bye, Ben.